and welcome to the March 2022 edition of SPS Global Insights Report, intended to inform you of critical incidents around the world relating to kidnap, ransom, extortion and piracy. We begin in South America. In recent years, the crime rate in Chile significantly increased year on year, sometimes by more than 30% until 2020. In that year, a temporary drop was experienced due to COVID-19 related lockdowns. However, in 2021, Chile experienced a larger than expected increase in crime after lockdowns eased. This is directly attributed to economic hardships associated with pandemic restrictions. There has been a notable increase in violent muggings, armed robberies, home invasions and carjackings, particularly in affluent and expatriate communities. In countries similarly impacted by lockdowns, we have seen an increase in virtual kidnappings, express kidnappings, and to a lesser extent, kidnappings for ransom. Seen as a relatively fast and reliable means of accessing money, it is possible that we will see a similar increase in Chile too. Another alleged reason for the increase in violence in the region is increased gang and drug trafficking activity, which our sources have indicated is much worse than what is being reported. Peru has been experiencing an increase in crime since 2011. With 700 kidnaps per year, Peru has one of the highest kidnapping rates in Latin America. What is concerning is that only 15% are estimated to be reported to authorities. An average of 11 muggings are reported every hour in Lima and El Cayo. In 2021, as many as 600 murders were reported in Lima, a seaside city and region on the Pacific coast in the Lima metropolitan area. In 2021, carjackings, armed robberies, assaults, sexual assaults and other violent crimes reach an all-time high in Lima and El Cayo. The increase in crime is affecting both locals and foreign visitors. According to a recent study, crime specifically targeting affluent areas of Lima has risen in recent years. In the Loreto region along the border with Colombia, drug trafficking and criminal activity are rampant. In the valley of the Apurimac, Ene and Mantaro River Basin, drug traffickers and remaining members of the Shining Path terrorist group are still at the root of security incidents and kidnappings in the area. Moving over to Eastern Europe, the Russia-Ukraine conflict has created the largest refugee crisis in Europe since World War II. Neighbouring countries are all attempting to relocate refugees on what could be a long-term or permanent basis. They have also galvanized their military forces to secure their own eastern borders. Reports of Ukrainian citizens being forced into Russian-controlled territory have been reported by the international media, with speculation that this is in preparation for future prisoner exchanges. From the Ukrainian borders, concern has been raised that as some women cross into neighbouring countries, criminal gangs are offering transport to major cities and then forcing the women into the sex trade. At a few border crossings, a registration process has now been established for anyone offering lifts to Ukrainians. Let's now head into Africa. Al-Shabaab, also known as the Harakat Shabab al-Mujahideen, is an Al-Qaeda affiliate based in Somalia. By increasing the number of attacks in the region, it threatens to destabilize the tenuous security situation in East Africa. Although typically centered in Somalia, Al-Shabaab's attacks have again pushed across the border into Kenya. Targeting security patrols and construction company personnel, their attacks have occurred along the Kenyan border provinces, including areas such as Lamu, Garissa, Wajir and Mandera counties. Al-Shabaab has a history of using kidnappings as a means of terror and generating revenue. In 2019 and 2020, the group embarked on a rash of kidnappings in Kenya along the border and the coast. Their targets were locals and foreigners, NGO and medical workers, teachers, security officers, and tourists. Next up is the Middle East. Over the past 6 weeks, 7 local and foreign nationals working with international aid organizations have been kidnapped in Yemen. In February 2022, 5 UN officials were abducted by members of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula in the southern province of Abyan. The UN reported that the officials were returning to the port city of Aden after completing a field mission when they were kidnapped. In March 2022, 2 doctors, German and Mexican nationals, from Doctors Without Borders, Médecins Sans Frontières, were kidnapped by armed gunmen in Hadramaut, a large Yemeni province under the control of the official government. AQAP operates in south and eastern regions of Yemen, divided by a 7-year war between the Saudi-backed government based in the south and the Iranian-aligned Houthi movement in the north. The group is not aligned with either side and conducts attacks and kidnappings randomly and independently. After rebels carried out drone and missile attacks against the United Arab Emirates in January 2022, the UAE requested that the US reinstate the designation of the Houthis as a terrorist organization. Syria topped the armed conflict location and event data list as the country with the highest general and political violence of 2021. Despite a reported decrease of almost 10% from 2020, 9,321 incidents of political violence were reported, keeping Syria in the lead by a large margin. Unsurprisingly, the most common perpetrator of these attacks is the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces. Syria had 850 abductions or forced disappearances in 2021, 70% of which were perpetrated by the Syrian Democratic Forces. These statistics don't begin to describe the severity of the issue. According to the Syrian Network for Human Rights, from 2011 to 2021, over 149,000 people, including over 14,000 women and children, have been detained or have disappeared. While many of these kidnappings are political and retaliatory in nature, it is one of the regime's many endeavours to punish opposition. Kidnap for ransom as a means of revenue has also thrived in the country's chaos. Let's take a closer look at the cyberspace. Russia is known as the nexus of cyber extortion. In 2021, 74% of all money made through ransomware attacks went to Russia-linked hackers. Intelligence officials estimate that there are at least 20 Russian criminal gangs with unparalleled hacking abilities. Russia's well-resourced intelligence services are also adept at hacking and are reported to have close connections with cyber criminals. Once the Russian-Ukraine invasion began, hackers on both sides of the conflict launched distributed denial-of-service attacks in an attempt to take government websites offline. The invasion also reportedly caused an internal war within the Russian-based ransomware group Conti. The group, responsible for many high-profile ransomware attacks worldwide, surprisingly expressed loyalty to Russian President Vladimir Putin, stating it would use all possible resources to strike back at the critical infrastructures of an enemy. According to cybersecurity analysts, the announcement caused immediate and extreme dissent within the group, which has members and affiliates all over Russia, but in Eastern Europe too, presumably including the Ukraine. And finally, we move into the high seas. Almost as soon as Russia began their land-based attack against the Ukraine on the 24th of February, attacks against vessels traversing and anchored in the Black Sea commenced. According to the Office of Naval Intelligence's Worldwide Threat to Shipping report, Ukrainian-flagged vessels are being intercepted and escorted to Russian custody, typically in the Russian-controlled waters off Crimea. Numerous ships sailing under other countries' flags have been struck by artillery, sinking some vessels and damaging others. In one alarming incident, a Panamanian-flagged cargo ship was intercepted and used as a shield by Russian military to enter a port in the Ukraine. That ship then reportedly sank off the coast of Odessa. To date, there has been no feedback as to the fate of the crew. According to the shipping tracker Windward Limited, an estimated 3,500 sailors have been stuck on some 200 ships at Ukrainian ports. The International Transport Workers Federation has declared the waters off Ukraine a warlike area and called for further protections for sailors. Advocacy groups for seafarers report that many stranded crews are running low on provisions and fuel. Shipping lanes throughout the Black Sea will remain closed, and the domino effect on shipping worldwide will continue, with global shipping rates skyrocketing. We hope our SPS Global Insights report has been of value and urge you to read the full report for a comprehensive overview of the SPS Kidnapping, Piracy and Ransom Bulletin. Stay tuned for next month's edition.